And welcome back to another episode of Water Guy Unfiltered. I am Paul, your water guy.
I am Ethan, your audio guy.
And we are here to entertain and educate, probably in that order today. But
Absolutely.
it's been a long time since the
Dude.
last one. Like, we went through a whole Thanksgiving and then a couple of weeks, I think.
It's just been a time in general, man.
Yeah. What did you end up doing over the holiday?
Man, so before the holiday, my wife and I took that trip to Vermont. Very beautiful up there, by the way.
The changing of the leaves?
Did
you miss it?
We were too late for that, but got to experience all the other good things of Vermont.
Oh, Vermont cheese?
Didn't indulge in any cheese, but you bet I indulged in some maple syrup.
Oh, yeah.
The difference it makes is indescribable. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't get the fake stuff. The like wannabe pancake syrup.
Mhm.
That's I buy just the 100% pure maple.
Yeah. Also, it was extremely comical how many Subarus were up there. Dude, we went
I shouldn't laugh.
from our Airbnb. We drove a mile and we counted 50.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What were you driving? A Subaru.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
We took the Subaru
You
up.
blended.
We blended in just fine.
Oh, that's terrible.
How was your holiday, man?
It was well, my in-laws moved to I shouldn't say, makes it sound like it's like my mother-in-law, father-in-law, but no, it's my brother-in-law. He decided he's gonna move from Raleigh down a little bit further south.
Okay.
So it's like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour. Actually, it was right at 4 hours because of Thanksgiving traffic.
Mhm.
And the traffic sucked.
Oh yeah.
So getting down there was just an experience in itself because when you're caged in the car with your wife and she's a backseat driver in the front seat, it was it was quite exciting. And the here you're gonna find this real funny. I don't know if I told you, but the week before, I literally went down to this it's called M School.
Mhm.
Have you heard of that?
No.
So M School.
Oh wait.
Yes.
The BMW school?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, okay.
let's just say that somebody had some connections, and we got invited to go to this, and it was a one day thing.
Okay.
So, but you get to tour down in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Okay.
So you go down in there. It's the coolest thing. And I tell you, and if anybody's listening to this, considering picking up a BMW, or, well, specifically BMW, because I can vouch for everything that goes on down there with their plant, especially the M Series. So the M Series is basically street legal race cars.
Yep.
And they make them in all shapes and sizes. You've got like M version of their SUV, all the way down to 4 doors and then 2 doors.
The M series SUVs look awesome.
Oh, they're wicked bad.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, you have no idea on the regular road what these things are capable of.
Yeah.
So that was the whole beauty of that M School.
Mm-hmm.
So you go down there, and this was a modified version of it. It wasn't the true M School. This was like an M orientation.
Kind of like a watered down version of
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the point of it is in the morning, we actually all go out and we get a chance to tour the manufacturing plant that makes the X Series BMWs here in the U.S., right down there in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Wow.
The building, the manufacturing building was, I think they said 1.3 miles wide. The building.
Wow.
So, I know. I'm like, that's massive.
Yeah.
And we go in there, and you're talking about security like I haven't seen that in a long time. They almost confiscate phones.
Oh wow.
But we had to power off our even smartwatches because they didn't want any recording of any type going on. But I see why, because it was mind-blowing. They had these, I think they said there's 8,000 employees, and they work 20 hours a day. So they shut down for 4 hours for maintenance every day.
Wow.
And they make, I did the math on this, it's like they make a car in about every 45 to 50 seconds, a car comes off the assembly line. But the weirdest part about this is you got a chance to see like everything. They do, I think it was 5 or 6 coats of protectant, including paint, and they actually dip the cars and they rotate them under the liquid to make sure that the stuff gets in all the little nooks and crannies. And yeah, then they spray them down with PVC on the insides, and then it's all the paint, all that stuff. We were just nerding out because I was like, wow, that is so incredible. But a lot of it, almost the entire place, is all robotic.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had this vision in my head of an assembly plant where it's just people, bolting a lot of stuff on.
Oh yeah.
No, there was a lot of people there because 8,000 people is a lot.
Right.
But the place is massive, and the people are doing all of the delicate stuff. They got their gloves, and everybody's got their like Tyvek suits on because they're trying to keep the place like dust free. But they're literally like they got the cotton gloves, and they're running their hands over everything, making sure there aren't any like weird feeling things that robots really can't do.
Yeah, things like
quality control.
Yeah, like things in the paint, like
like if you can see something like a weird spot in the paint.
like fish eyeing,
yes,
or like some sort of like flicks and trash in the paint.
Yep. The things that only people could do, and they pull off. It's weird. They have like an audit station where there were so many cars, they just literally jerk one of them out, and then they're measured like with lasers, and this big thing looks like one of those it's a bunch of robots that are just basically like cruising around this car doing all sorts of pictures and laser measurements and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Awesome.
The quality down there was incredible, but that leads me to the afternoon of that day, which was we get to go over to, they have their own track. And this track is, I think they said it's a mile long end to end. But it's not just a big oval. It's not like a boring NASCAR type thing. No offense to anybody that likes NASCAR, but this makes that look boring, like watching traffic. We got a chance to get in. They had the M1, the M2, the 3, the M4. They didn't have M5s out there, but it was pretty wicked because and then we did an off-road course this time. So I was in one of the big X5, I think it was. Maybe it was the 7. Maybe it was the big one. But we went up on these off-road obstacles where you swear you're going to just flip over. It was pretty cool.
That's crazy.
They had all these cool features. But on the track, we had competitions like time trials, and it was with obstacles. So there was that, and you're like going as fast as you possibly can. And when they tell you at the beginning, they're like, drive the car like you just stole it and there's blue lights behind you. They're like, you can't hurt it. You can't hit the brakes hard enough. Nobody's ever hit the brakes hard enough.
Yep.
So they basically were challenging you to just beat the hell out of these things.
Yeah.
And each one of these cars is like $120,000 to $150,000.
Wow.
But the difference, the reason I was saying, if anybody's considering, because you go on a test drive, you take the thing out of the dealer, you go up and down a 45 mile an hour street, and you're like, oh yeah, I like it. No, you have no idea if you like it or not.
This is like a Trek experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is truly one of those things. If you are serious about spending that kind of money, I would say do it. Make the trip.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely worth it. You'll see what the car can do. But the whole point of me telling this story is that Thanksgiving was the very next weekend. So this was already after, as soon as I got out of the class, which is like 4 hours of high intense, high performance driving. Then I had to actually drive back to Richmond from Spartanburg, which was 3 hours to the midway point, and then 3 hours the next morning. And all the way back, I'm just like, I felt like a caged animal. I'm in this car. I'm like, oh my gosh, why are we only going 70? You can go 130 here easily. We were going like 85, 87 miles an hour on this, it was called Follow the Leader. So if you could imagine you're one car length right on the car. When you're going that fast, that's like ridiculous close.
Yeah.
And we're on the obstacle course. And I'm following the guy. The instructor was in the car in front of me. And my goal was to keep up with him. And the guy behind me's goal was to keep up with me. And the guy behind him, obviously, was to keep up with him. So,
and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So that was a pretty funny one. So it was me and my brother-in-law. I know that's not improper English, and then there was another guy in the fourth car. This is a funny story because it's a huge track. Like I said, it's like a mile end to end. So they had two groups on the track at the same time on opposite track. They're a mile apart from each other, and everybody is all hauling ass. Well, the instructor, the first lap, they take you really slow because you have to see exactly. He's like, okay, at this point you're gonna brake hard right at this cone.
Yep. Learn the race line.
Learn the lines.
Yep.
And then he's like, and then we're gonna go progressively faster until we're going as fast as the slowest person in our group can keep up. He's like, that's basically the limit. Well, in a lap and a half, we caught the group in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was on the instructor's butt the whole time, and my brother-in-law was on mine, and the guy behind him, and we were just like four professionals. It was crazy.
That's so crazy.
The instructor, he's like, okay, we got to pull over. We got to give some safety distance again. He's like, this group is the fastest group I've ever been with. So we were all like, yeah, that's awesome. It wasn't like the other group sucked. We were just really good and pumped up. But anyway, on the way back, I was all just ready to race pretty much everybody on the road, which was terrible. I had to rein it in. And then right away, then Thanksgiving was the next weekend. And my wife was like, why are you right on this person's ass? And I'm like, well, this is really nothing.
The competition instructor taught me this. Yeah. It's not my fault.
It's not a big deal. I mean, we're going in a straight line, and I've got, a second of following distance. It's easy.
I had that same exact experience after my time in Texas.
Uh-oh.
Because like the flow of traffic on a Texas highway like Interstate 10 or something was like 85, and there were people flying past me, like going at least
like the
20.
Autobahn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. So like I was right. My wife was like grabbing the crap handle, white knuckling it. Yeah, but I was just having the time of my life in that rental car.
Oh my gosh,
it was fantastic.
What kind of rental car was it?
It was just a RAV4.
Oh man, that wasn't even really like souped up.
Nah, nothing crazy. But next time we're down there, and what's great is that the state troopers, they're out there. They don't care. They're looking for other stuff. They don't care about you speeding.
Man, here they patrol the tollways. Mm-hmm. They're vicious in Virginia. For those of you listening, if you're on the tollway in Virginia, it is not safe. Even though they charge you $5, $6, $7 to be on it, they are still looking to pull you over. Mm-hmm. That's not cool. Yeah. The unwritten rule outside Chicago was if you're on the tollway, you're paying to be there. They're not going to mess with you. Yeah. But it's a much different world down here. Yeah. So Thanksgiving, I ended up going down there with a white knuckle drive. And of course we get there and the shower didn't work. This is how the water guy, it becomes relative to the podcast.
Yeah.
So his water heater went out.
Wow.
Well, take a guess. Who knows how to do that? That was me.
Yeah.
So it turned into installing a water heater. Actually, we had to wait till the next day because everybody was closed on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So we used the other shower that had another water heater feeding it. But that was Thanksgiving turned into installing a water heater.
Wow.
And then I came back, and it's been crazy. This week has been really bizarro. I have got to say that this one's going to go down on our the website as one of the special projects. So we got this customer, and I may have mentioned before that sometimes we run into low yield well situations, which is a fancy way of they don't have enough water in the ground. And this one house, the original owners of it, we put a whole house reverse osmosis in there because they had high silica levels, and it was like a $3 million house, and it was literally destroying the house right in front of their eyes.
Right.
So the only way to fix silica is to really take it out with RO, reverse osmosis. Mm-hmm. So then those people end up leaving. He was military, so they get moved around pretty frequently sometimes. Don't know what he did to get a $3 million house, but whatever he did it well. Mm-hmm. But the new owners, they came in, and they came from city water. So they were used to unlimited water. You could just leave a faucet running 24/7, and you pay the bill, and that's what it is. Well, they killed the well. The first one kept running dry, and if you run a well dry over and over and over, it can sometimes cause it to just catastrophically fail. Yeah. And that's what happened. So they called us up, and this was probably like 4 months ago, And they're like, yeah, we keep running out of water. And I'm like, well, it's not the system. It's the fact that you guys are just using a stupid amount of water. You got to conserve. Pretend you're in California.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a barn on this big property. So we ended up, and it'll all come together in the end. So the barn had its own little well that was feeding the barn because it was like 1,000 feet away from the house. Pretty far. You didn't want to just take a nice stroll down there without jumping on the four-wheeler. So I was like, hey, this is a crazy idea, but I can get water from the barn brought up to the house, and maybe that will give you, water for now. I don't know how long that other well is going to last. It's it's one of those things I can't guarantee anything, but I do know that one is producing. So long story short, we trenched, I think it was like 800 feet, and we put this line in, and it just sucked because it was.
Oh, dude.
It was I was like, we're never trenching again.
Oh my god.
It was like one of those days here. We didn't have very many this year, but it was one of those that was in like 100-degree heat index. And we almost all died out there trying to basically dig this big trench.
Jeez.
We had a trencher, and even that still didn't make it even tolerable. But anyway, so they had this huge line. Then they killed that well. So we've tried 2 different areas of the property, a deep well and then a shallow well. Both of them cooked out.
Wow.
So then because they're dealing with no water. I mean, you can't have a $3 million house and not have any water running in it. That takes you back to the dark ages. So they were having this water company. Like if somebody gets a swimming pool, they'll call a tanker, and they'll bring this tanker truck. And those things usually bring in 5,000, 6,000 gallons of water.
Right.
And they were taking the water and putting it in the well, like just dumping it in the well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a horrible thing. I mean, they had to do it because that's really the only source of water that they had at that point.
Right.
But they just poured all this water in the well, stirred up the ground. It's just basically you're just pouring it in a hole.
All right.
So you know how it's never going to be clear. So then we're sucking all that water in through all of our equipment. And long story short, they end up killing the reverse osmosis membranes that I had just changed. So these things normally last 2 to 3 years. They cooked them out in 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
So he was like, we need a more permanent solution here. Winter's coming. So I said, the only option really is storage. So they have a barn right out down there.
Mm-hmm.
So the barn to the bottom of the trusses is like 12 feet. It's a high barn inside. It had it has like 5-6 horse stalls in it.
Wow.
So it's a decent sized barn. But the door to the place is like 10 feet wide, maybe 10 feet tall. Because that's about all you'd ever need for a tractor or something like that.
Right.
Well, I'm in there and we're trying to figure out, because ideally they wanted 10,000 gallons of storage. That's a lot. That's like 2 people would use 10,000 gallons in about 3 months here in the U.S. Now, if you're overseas in Europe, they actually use a lot less water than we do in America. I didn't realize that. Until I was talking with this engineer from, the heck was he from? Turkey? I think he was from Turkey. Ukraine and Turkey. Apparently it's like right there at the border.
Right.
But he was like, we use probably, a family uses 35 gallons a day. Over here, a family uses 100 to 150. So that was just one of those eye-opening things about how much differently we treat water than they do over there. But anyway, because he heard about this and he's like, well, who the heck? What city are you going to be feeding with this 10,000 gallon tank? I'm like, no, not a city. It's a house. It just blew his mind. He's like, that's enough water for a city for like 6 months. So
not here in America.
Not here. We go big. We go bigger. We go home. So I spec out these 2 5,000 gallon tanks. Well, here's the problem. These tanks are 152 inches, which is like 12 and a half feet. And they only had like 120 inches to the bottom of the trusses. 30 inches difference, right? So I can't make the barn any taller.
Right.
So what are you going to do? I was like, heck, we're going to make the floor lower.
Oh, dude.
Yes, we excavated 3 feet down. We took 2 of the stalls and we converted them into this gigantic room.
Oh my
And then we took a
gosh.
Bobcat in there and we literally just scooped out. We're on our 4th dump truck load of dirt just coming out of there. So we basically
Wow.
lowered the floor down to the point where I was like, man, structurally, I hope I don't impair the posts of the building itself because we
Right.
were close on 2 of them. But yeah, we ended up digging this whole thing out, and we got these 5,000-gallon tanks in there, and they're all filling up nicely now. But that is a whole long story about that's the biggest tanks, the biggest holding tanks that I've ever put in a residential setting. But this week has been brutal because it was in the teens here in the temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been outside for 5 days in that stuff. That wind was like 35-mile-an-hour wind yesterday. Just cut through the bone. It reminded me of Chicago.
Cover up them ears.
Yep.
Gonna get an ear infection real quick like that.
So yeah. But they're filling it with these tankers, which is a very long entrance to today's podcast episode,
Which is?
HAAs, haloacetic acids. You probably, yep, he's got that look. Like, what in the world is he talking about? He's going to nerd out over some science.
Exactly what I'm thinking.
So, yeah, before this project that we just wrapped up, a couple weeks ago, we got a call from a customer, and they were told by their water municipality that they had tested over the HAAs in terms of the limits, right? So those are some monitored haloacetic acids, and they have these 2 categories. One's HAA 5, which is there's 5 special haloacetic acids in this group. And just for those of you that are curious, the monochloroacetic acid, the dichloroacetic acid, the trichloroacetic acid, monobromoacetic acid, and dibromoacetic acid. So those are the members of the HAA 5 group. Sounds like a band,
Yeah.
a very bad band. And then they've expanded it out to another group that they call the HAA 9, which is those 5 plus bromochloroacetic acid, bromodichloroacetic acid, dibromochloroacetic acid, and tribromoacetic acid. They don't sound that scary, do they? They're all acids. That's why they're under the HAA, the haloacetic acid.
I don't know, they have
Group.
they have a lot of synonyms in them.
They do. It's almost like you can predict what the name of the next one is going to be. Mono, di, and tri. In that kind of a crazy order. But these, so let's back up a second. What in the heck is he talking about, right? How did we get jumped right into HAAs? Well, the way that this whole thing starts is that water that is, and this could be drinking water and utility water, like bathing, cleaning, doing stuff like that. Water that is treated with chlorine all produces disinfection byproducts. So that's kind of the big group of all the bad shit that you can get when you mix chlorine with organics and in some cases inorganics. And there's a lot of, we're not going to dig into all the chemistry because I hated chemistry. I'm gonna turn this into something that's palatable and entertaining.
Awesome.
So your disinfection byproducts break out primarily into those HAAs, the haloacetic acids, and trihalomethanes. So trihalomethanes are something we've already talked about. Chloroform, bromoform, bromodichloromethane, and dibromochloromethane. Easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It took me a long time to be able to spit that out without having to think about it. And it's messed up because I started writing it down today just to make sure I had it on my note. And for the life of me, I couldn't remember because I say it all the time, but when I had to think about it, I couldn't think of it. It just completely escaped my head. But anyway, the trihalomethanes, those are different. So how are they different? They are gases. Those are like methane. You think of methane, it's like a gas, right?
Right.
And that's the real difference. The trihalomethanes you can absorb through the skin because you can absorb gases through the skin. You can drink it and then you absorb it through your digestive system, or you can inhale it because it's gas. And those are really what we had focused in on when we were talking with people that are on city water, municipal water. Because, almost everybody takes showers. I don't know hardly anybody anymore that takes a bath.
Right.
And almost every single shower is a little cubicle with a door, and the walls are really high. And then you let out it's pressurized water, and all the gases come out of the water. So you're in a little gas chamber. Mm-hmm. It's a horrible way to say it, but that's the reality of a shower. So trihalomethanes have always been like the biggest concern for us, and those are heavily regulated by the EPA. The problem is all of these disinfection byproducts, they don't really get created until they're on the way to your house. Okay. So they test for most of the time, all the testing is done at the water treatment plant because they're making sure, hey, what we're sending out is meeting all of the federal standards. Well, the problem is it doesn't really start to turn into all these evil things until it gets out into the pipe where all the organic matter is, the dirty pipes. Sometimes you'll have a water main break, and you'll have organic matter get introduced into the water supply, sewage breaks, weird stuff like that. It can even be from the source water. So let's see here. In Virginia, a nice little factoid, there are 7.75 million Virginians that drink municipal water. That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people.
And almost all of the municipal water comes from surface waters, like lakes, rivers, reservoirs. Well, those lakes, rivers, and reservoirs are, for the most part, fed by rain and runoff. Well, that's how you get the organic stuff into the water supply to begin with. Mm-hmm. So if you're testing for all of these things, and then you're mixing your chlorine into them, everything looks great for a very short time. But as it's traveling on its way to Ethan's house, it's going, let's go ahead and change into some disinfection byproducts, and maybe we're going to make some trihalomethanes, and maybe we're even going to create some haloacetic acids. Mm-hmm.
So it's like chemical reactions that happen slowly over time.
Slowly over time. As it's doing its job. It's keeping the water clean and taking care of all those nasties in there. It's turning into other really more nasty things. Man, it's hard to believe we've already gone to our first, our midpoint break here.
I know. There was so much story time happening in the beginning.
I know. I think that was some good story. I had to get that out, though. That was between the race car driving and the water heater thing. That was well needed. But we're going to take a break so I can actually breathe, because I think I held my breath for this first half hour. And don't go away. We'll have a word from our sponsors, and see you in a minute.
All right, today's sponsor is Your Health. This is Your Health speaking. We're imploring that you please do something about your water. Call a local water professional. Don't call a plumber. We could talk about that for a long time, but do you trust the same guy that's flushing turds to take care of your drinking water? If you do, then we can't help you. But this is Your Health talking. Take this seriously.
All right, hopefully the sponsors were good to you, and we are back. Mm-hmm. All right, before the break, we were talking about basically chlorinated water plus organics and inorganics creates disinfection byproducts. And those break out primarily into the THM, the trihalomethanes, which are gases. And then the other main problem children are the haloacetic acids. And we ran through all 9 of the biggest culprits over there. But what makes them really scary is that they're not gases, they're liquids. So they're part of the water. And they are, when you eat them or drink them, they are highly absorbed into your system because it's another liquid.
Yeah.
And then they are, when you shower in them, because it's a liquid, they're only slightly absorbed. Because you get in the shower and you're going to absorb a little bit of water.
Right.
But nothing like you would if you were to drink the shower water.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, another sidebar. We have a customer he's got a gorgeous house, but it was built in the 20s.
Ah.
So it's over 100 years old. And I hate situations like this. I really do. I hate it for them. And people are like, well, oh, wouldn't you love to have an old house? Hell no, I don't want an old house. I know better.
Mm-hmm.
There's asbestos, there's lead, there's all sorts of just horrible things holding that house together.
Decrepit electrical wiring in the walls.
Oh yeah, yeah, the knob and tube stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was I've seen. My dad's house has that. Yeah, he's got a really old farmhouse. Anyway, that's a whole separate story there. But yeah, these old houses. This guy wants the best of the best, and he's on city water, and he's terrified of. Almost everybody around here that's on city water got a notification from the county. Oh, it's actually sitting right here on the table, which
is that what it
really
is?
bizarre
Is that
because
what
that
is
was
in front of
not
us?
intentional.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
So yeah, it's kind of funny. Maybe Stacy put that out there because she knew what I was going to talk about. But this one here, and I quote, "You are served by a service line with lead status unknown." And basically that's what it says. It says, we don't know what makes these things up, but it's possible that we have lead because we just don't really know what the material was way back then. So they're going to be, over the next several years, they're going to inventory these unknown service lines and try to figure out what they are, and they're going to be replacing them. But this is basically saying that, you've been warned that there may be some weird stuff in your water and you're going to need to take steps to protect your own health as you see fit. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that, because it goes back to this house that I was just telling you about. Gorgeous house, 100 years old, but he wanted to put whole house reverse osmosis in because he wanted the best of the best. And I literally had to say, I don't want to do this because we're setting the wrong expectation, because I can give you perfect, flawless, safe water, and as soon as it goes back into your plumbing of your house, you're contaminating it.
Yep.
And then you're going to go guzzle it, because he's really worried about his kids drinking water in the shower. You don't have kids.
No.
I don't have kids. When you were a kid, did you drink out of the shower?
When I was really young.
Like, how young is real young? Like 2
I started
or 12?
I started showering by myself when I was
1?
No, it was a bit younger because
Younger than 1?
No, older. Sorry,
Okay.
Jeez. It was a little bit older than 1 because I was still doing that transition from bath to shower.
Oh yeah.
But I'd say definitely probably 7, 8.
7, 8.
Yeah, just I'm a kid,
Yeah.
It's water to me.
It's water, right?
It's just water. The government won't hurt me.
You probably. I guess the point is, you probably didn't just sit in there and just guzzle your whole daily allowance.
No, I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
It'd be for 10 seconds, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm done.
All right, that's not as good as I thought it was going to be. And you probably only did it once or twice, really. You probably didn't do it every single time, but maybe you did. I don't remember ever drinking water in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I've had so many head smacks along the years that I have no memories of a lot of things. But anyway, he's worried about his kids drinking shower water because of the lead. And, it's one of those things. My first reaction is, well, teach your kid to not drink shower water. I don't. That's the easy, obvious solution, but you can't really always do that. But I guess the reality is that unless he literally is trying to guzzle a whole bunch of water and you've got a really, really high lead content, I don't think that that's something that he really needs to focus in on as being a problem.
Right.
So focus in on where your child is getting the most amount of water. So yeah, instead of purifying for the whole house, we're actually going to put point of use systems actually in the bathrooms too. So we have this device that we can put our drinking water station in the bathroom if there's room in the cabinet, and they could keep their existing faucet. It's just literally a button under the sink, and they hit the button, they'll switch the water on the cold side over to the drinking water. It's not perfect, but it's as close as you're going to get without drilling a separate faucet.
Right.
So anyway, that's how I would have loved to have another big project going on, but it's not the right thing, and we're not the high pressure salesy people. We're here for the long haul. So
Right.
always do the right thing. That's our moral here. But anyway, so back to we were talking about showers, and somehow I got changed into all that. Oh, because the HAAs are a liquid in the liquid.
Yeah.
So the way that it's really going to mess you up is drinking it. But it's more than drinking. So it was one of these things. I'm going to read what the NIH, this is from the NIH site, says approximately 250 million U.S. residents are potentially exposed to HAAs from using disinfected water. They can be exposed by drinking beverages prepared with treated water, which coffee, things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great example that I can think of, a lot of people, if they're going to drink water like straight in a glass, they'll try to make sure that they're going to use something that's better than just right out of the tap.
Right.
But they'll be the first ones to offer you a cup of coffee that they make with tap water. And I'm like, no, you need good water for your coffee. We beat the hell out of that horse many times on prior episodes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this one is one of those that if you're thinking about making your coffee out of a municipal city water, well, I don't think that the coffee grinds are going to be grabbing hold of all of the haloacetic acids that might still be in there.
Mm-mm.
So think twice about that. You can get them from eating food that's cooked in it. Pasta. I see all these pot fillers over stoves. And the pot filler, really, it's got one purpose. Right? If you're cooking pasta, that's usually when you're going to use your pot filler. Well, you take a little bit of pasta and you throw it in a pot with a bunch of water and you end up with a big old thing of pasta. So it's sucking up all these HAAs. So I can tell he's realizing right now that, oh my gosh, you're ruining pasta night. I got to make pasta out of bottled water now. But yes, you can get it from eating the food. So boiling it, nope, still there. You can also, you're gonna love this. You can also get exposed by bathing or coming into contact with water treated with chlorine, like swimming pools, hot tubs, or spas. Yeah, because there's a lot of organics in spas, and there's usually a lot of chlorine in there that's keeping it safe to be in.
Man, every time I think I got a grasp on it, it just goes deeper and deeper.
Yep.
All this water treatment stuff.
And I have a spa, hot tub, whatever you want to call the thing. I was just in it, and it's one of those that I do love the heat and the massage part of it, but as I'm in there, I don't fully enjoy it because I know, actually I use a bromine. It's a little different. It doesn't have the same reaction. We actually talked about that on
We did.
P is for Pools episode.
Uh-huh.
So anybody can go back and check that one out if you want to know more about pools and spas.
Yeah.
But bromine isn't nearly as bad on certain things. But anyway, yeah, you can get exposed to these a bunch of different ways. You can get, like I said, you could get them from organic matter in the water, but there's also some production processes that might be putting this stuff out and putting it back into waterways, because there's a lot of they're chemical and pharmaceutical plants and paper mills and stuff like that. A lot of them are located right next to rivers. They bring in a lot of water and they put out a bunch of water.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of, let's just say that there's probably, I'm not going to say there is always, but there is a high probability that there's contamination coming from specifically bleaching wood pulp at paper mills causes haloacetic acids, as well as, like I said, chemical and pharmaceutical plants. They're creating that stuff too. So crazy. What's so scary about the HAAs? Besides the fact that they're liquid, so you can't boil them. You know, a lot of people, like we talked about before, I'm going to boil the water. It's going to be fine. That won't work with this. But these HAAs are cytotoxic, genotoxic, and carcinogenic. So not just carcinogenic, but cytotoxic and genotoxic. So if that doesn't scare you, if you're listening, you're like, man, I think I'm exposing myself right now, washing my hands, listening to this podcast, making dinner. You're going to love this. I even titled this little section, Bad. What do I do if exposed to HAAs? It says right here, if you breathe HAAs, move to fresh air. If breathing is difficult, give oxygen. I don't have any oxygen at my house, any extra. Get medical help right away. And this is from the Delaware.gov. This is one of the government sites up there. So this isn't something that we just made up and pulled off of some sketchy channel somewhere. If you swallow HAAs, do not, it's in big letters, do not throw up. This is the next part actually made me laugh. It says, don't throw up. Take large quantities of water. But I'm thinking, but what if you just poison yourself because you just drank tap water?
Right.
I don't think that, they obviously meant large quantities of water that's not contaminated. But again, get medical help right away. They mentioned that twice. If you touch HAAs, flush skin with plenty of water for at least 15 minutes. Remove clothing and shoes that have contacted HAAs. Get medical help. That's like the third time they've said get medical help.
Right.
Wash clothing before wearing again. If you get HAAs in your eyes, flush eyes right away with water for 15 minutes or more. Lift the upper and lower eyelids from time to time.
Get medical help right away.
That's like the fifth time.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, that's why I titled that part Bad, because I read that and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is far worse than even I realized it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, potential immediate effects on health. How do HAAs work and how can they affect my health? They can destroy tissues of the mucous membranes and upper respiratory tracts. Basically, the stuff you breathe with. Breathing these can cause a burning feeling, coughing, wheezing, sore throat, and shortness of breath. You can also have a headache or nausea. Breathing HAAs can cause death from severe damage to the throat, lungs, and breathing system. Yeah, this is no joke.
Yeah.
Swallowing HAAs can be fatal because the compounds severely burn the mouth, throat, and stomach. And harmful effects are sore throat, vomiting, and diarrhea. Wonderful. That is terrifying. Can cause redness, pain, severe burns on your skin, blurred vision, redness and pain, and severe burns on the eyes. Again, that is all information from the Department of Health and Social Services, Delaware.gov. You can look that one up if you would like to see it and read that to somebody later on. Hopefully you're not in Delaware, because if they had to write that, they must really have some bad levels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they, let's see here. What was the other? There was something big that I wanted to be. 6 of these are reasonably anticipated to be human carcinogens. Pretty much all of those HAA5s, and then the TBA, which is the tribromoacetic acid. So bad stuff. HAA5 is a very bad band. Like, I won't even say it. I was going to say like the Backstreet Boys, but they're not even that terrible.
Yeah,
They had some decent music, I think.
pretty good.
So yeah. So it impacts your liver, your testes, your pancreas, your brain, and your nervous system. Those are kind of important.
A little bit.
So, yeah, that's that makes you want to like take a deep breath and a step back. So, get something if you're listening to this that's going to go ahead and take care of the HAAs. Now, like I said, they're different than the THMs. THMs are gases. These are liquids. So a lot of the stuff that's out there, because a lot of people, if you hear this, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to go get a Brita pitcher or something. Those are going to be, they could be reasonably effective against the THMs because what they use is basically carbon. It's like a carbon filter. So they could do a decent job of taking care of any remaining THMs that are in your water, but they're not going to be effective against the HAAs. HAAs are just another liquid, which is going to go right through that stuff. So you need reverse osmosis. That will take that stuff out of there. It basically purifies the water by catching almost everything that's not pure water. So that's your best protection. So yeah, some science-y stuff. We saved science-y for the end. But trust me, there's a funny part to this. So stick with it. Just take a deep breath. So the formation of HAA5s over the trihalomethane may occur when the water contains higher concentration of organic precursors containing carboxyl and carbonyl groups. I told you it's going to get deep. More free amino acids and or is more acidic with a pH below 7. That's kind of the sciencey description of why it happens. So I was like, okay, water that has carboxyl and carbonyl groups. So I was like, well, what the heck is a carbonyl group? And a carbonyl group, you're the science guy, right? You remember this stuff.
I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I was right there with you on chemistry. I did not enjoy chemistry that much.
I hated chemistry.
I wasn't a big fan.
Hated it. Freaking hated it. I hated math too, but that's because it didn't make sense to me. And then all of a sudden one day, it just clicked.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, I love math. And then calculus and differential equations later was fun, which is really odd. But anyway, the carbonyls are a functional group. It's a carbon atom with a double bond to oxygen. So it looks like C equals O. It's basically carbons connected to the oxygen with 2 bonds. Some examples, because I always love to put this into like things that people can relate to. Acetone, ketone, formaldehyde, and carboxylic acids. So the other thing, remember, one's carbonyl and one's carboxyl. So some carboxyl examples, basically they are all acids. Weak acids, like acetic acid, which is also known as vinegar. Citric acid, get it from fruits and things like that. Formic acid, which, if I remember right, this wasn't something I planned, but formic acid is actually a defense liquid that a certain species of beetle sprays on somebody if they get messed with. Yeah, we could look that one up, but yes, if anybody that just popped into my head, formic acid.
Acid.
What beetle uses formic acid as a defense?
What?
Yeah, he's going to look that one up.
Well,
he's looking up formic acid and beetle butts. I am going to finish with butyric acid, which I was like, I've never heard of butyric acid, but it starts with butyr, otherwise known as butter. So butyric acid is found in butter. Interesting. So, did you find it?
I did. The carabid beetle.
Carabid
beetle. A mixture of formic acid, acetic acid, and lipophilic components, long chain hydrocarbons and esters.
So he's got 2 carboxyls and something else. Isn't that weird? That just popped into my head that something that would come out of a beetle's butt
It's the
related to our
connections.
podcast.
It's
So,
the
related to our podcast. So, why is this funny? Because you're probably all thinking, well, this is far from funny, guys. The carboxyl. So, we live in Virginia. And one of the things that makes Virginia unique is that, let's just say, marijuana has been legalized at the state level here. Now, just because I had heard this somewhere about a process called decarboxylation. Have you ever heard of that name?
Mm-mm.
So, in Virginia, and this is one of those things I don't judge, I don't really partake, but I do enjoy growing all sorts of plants.
Mm.
So I take it as just like a green thumb type challenge to know different things. So one of the things, basically, if you don't know, the real part in marijuana that gets you high is the THC.
Right.
So the raw THC in the plant itself, in the buds or whatever you end up smoking, which you can tell I don't really get into any of that. I just don't have time. And anyway, so the plant has what's called THCA.
Mm.
Now, THCA, everybody's heard of THC, but I was like, what does THC actually stand for? Do you know what THC stands for?
I used to kind of. I can't remember it.
Tetrahydrocannabinolic acid. Tetrahydrocannabinolic acid.
Tetrahydrocannabinolic acid.
Yeah, you got to slow way down to be able to say that.
Yeah.
So that is THCA. So when people try to enjoy the marijuana, most of them smoke it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, smoking it, you're basically lighting it on fire. So there's a huge temperature difference that it's going to go through. It's not just making it into smoke. It's actually, there's a scientific reason behind it. It is converting this THCA into what's called THC neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And the THCA doesn't do anything to you, but the THC neutral gives you all those funky effects that everybody likes. Not everybody, but the people that do it, that's what they're shooting for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you set it on fire, you get this because it's thermally activated. Now, for folks that just don't have any interest at all in smoking anything, there's edibles. So you can actually eat this stuff.
Yes, and there are like oils and stuff
Oh
too.
my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah. You could do oils. There's gummies out there. There's, of course, everybody's heard of brownies.
It's like
From
candies and
that
stuff.
70s show when they used to make the weed brownies all the time. But if you were to go ahead and just basically grind up, weed and put it into brownie mix, it's not really going to be the same thing.
Right.
So you have to go through this process called decarboxylation. And for those of you that are really curious now, to convert it over to the point where you can enjoy this stuff without burning it, you have to, they say the range of 200 to 245 degrees is what you have to basically expose it to. And according to all the research out there, the best process is to use 220 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. Then after that, you can turn it into butter and gummies and whatever you want to do. But anyway, I thought that was a very odd side note too, because I saw carboxyl and I was like, I've heard that before.
Like, wait a minute.
And we went deep off the trail with that one. But hopefully that was a finale that will make you remember this episode and maybe a little hungry. But don't drink tap water with it.
No.
You got to have good water. We're here to educate and entertain. And hopefully we've done both of that.
I feel both educated and entertained.
So you got to make sure you're liking, subscribing. We're trying to have not just a flurry of episodes. We're trying to be very precise in what we're coming up with so that every time is unique and hopefully it's something you get some enjoyment out of. Like and subscribe and share. And I didn't pull that report up, but we see every city that has people that have downloaded or streamed episodes.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was a pretty impressive list. We'll have that for you next time. But yeah, we're out in other countries, which I just curious how that's happening. But
Right.
anyway, we're worldwide.
Oh yeah,
Well,
international.
there was a term. A micro
Micro-influencer.
influencer. Did I talk about that last time?
You did.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
we're on our way to being a micro influencer.
There we go.
Man, it made me think for a second. It's been that long. It has been 3 weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have more ideas for the next one. So if anybody has any ideas for future shows, I would love to hear that. Go visit our website, ConnecticutRichmond.com. It's Connecticut like the water treatment product, or it's sometimes easier to remember as kinetic energy with an O on the end, and then Richmond like the city.com. Go on the website, give us a suggestion on anything that you like, dislike, think we want to change or do differently, or you want to hear about in the future.
Any topic you're curious about?
Yeah, topics, something that's hot in your area, and we'll do some deep dives on it and come up with a spellbinding show.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, thank you, and that's about it. Any final words?
No final words.
Cool. Catch you next time. This is Paul, the Water Guy Unfiltered.